All right, here we go. Time for another one. Setting them up, knocking them down, as somebody said. So we've got ourselves our acid cactus, as Jim's calling it, for Palm Springs Surf Club. So this is essentially just like an art installation. It's just going to be this cool RGB lit cactus that's going to kind of sit here in this. Hopefully it gets looking better, but that's kind of where it goes. So it's going to be two faces that kind of reverse channel and then have a gap in the middle to let the light out. So essentially, you're probably already looking at this. This is going to be Eagle Mountain Eagle. It's going to be two faces that slidey puck onto a frame, and then we're laughing. So again, there's not a whole lot going on, but just a few things to point out, especially when you start crossing over from basic signs to artwork to make sure it looks really good. It's all the details and all the little nonsense. So that's what we're going to be going over. So let's get after it. So here's the lay of the land. So I broke it up. You got the 090 faces, the main faces, and then look out for these two little dudes. These are going to be your bottom, sealer plates right there. And then these look familiar. You got your slidey puck systems that you're going to rivet together. And then keep an eye out for these three things. This is your capture system at the top. So when you slide them down, this will be what locks it in, so nobody can lift it off. And then pretty much everything's 1/4 inch. Your post frame, you can kind of see the skeleton there. So look out for all these little dog bone pieces. You've got match plate, the part that goes to the bottom, and then the part that goes to the post, 3x. And then of course the slidey pucks. So these are going to be essentially like challenge coins. So let's make sure we don't lose them. I know Route doesn't watch this because it hurts my feelings, but if you could route maybe a couple extra just to make sure, but you need 20 of them. Okay, so much like the Eagle, the 090 section can be kind of done separately, obviously, than the frame section. So if you do divvy this up and you do a division of labor, as they call it, and one guy attacks the faces. So let's just go that way. So we'll talk with the faces first. So first and foremost, you're just going to reverse channel it. So I got your count up here. It's basically 32 feet around. So you've got 18 strips will do you. Was 2-inch deep. Now you can leave the bottom open, just let it go long. I did do 09 just to give you some extra space, but you're just going to tack these along the bottom. But you might have to push it up just a little just to seal it up nice, depending on what you got. But you can let these run long and then seal it at the bottom. But just work your way around, all the way around. I brought up the thing about the warpy. I understand the whole thing's going to get a little funky. So just do your best to try to keep it as not funky as possible. Try to keep it as flat as possible. But we all know the problem with stitching metal all the way around. It's going to get oil canny. So at this point, you go ahead and put these together, get all this bent up, and just like we've done before, the red here is going to slide into the blue, and then just go ahead and rivet it all the way down. You got two spines, one for both sides there, and then you'll have a bunch of these little puck hangers here. Same thing, red goes into the blue, rivet it up, and then the blue side with your reference clecos, you can choose. That's where I gave you your choose your own adventure. So I'm not quite sure what you did with the Eagle for the Eagle Mountain, but if you tacked them on, that's fine. Just again, watch out for your warpy. Or if you do want to lords them on, I would do a couple of countersinks just for safety. But essentially, that's where they go. So make sure all your arrows are up, the pucks slide the right way. And then this is where our capture system goes. You're going to have two of these clips, one on each side. Make sure the clip is to the bottom there, the angle. And that's like the little side view here. You can see blue. And then there's going to be that little piece of 09 that's going to be on the 1/4 inch bracket. We'll get to that. But that's how it's going to get trapped. So anyway, so one guy can get those knocked out, get your bottom welded in, get these all attached, and then pretty much the faces are good to go once you get all that taken care of. Now, when we get over here to the 1/4 inch side, you can see here it's going to be match plate. It's going to be boxed. It's going to have two pieces on the sides and then the face pieces. And then this is where our power is going, just so you kind of get the lay of what's going on. And then you have single layer branches going out here, here, and here, and I have those marked. And then I recontinued the top to be boxed. So it'll be boxed in. You got two pieces. So as you can see, you have the left-hand side here. That's where you pass the Dutchie. And then you go ahead and put that side to that side. And then you have your 1, 2, and 3 labeled. You have your 1, 2, and 3 right side, so you can see where those go. And then you can see where the top is boxed. You have two pieces, and then you have the bottom. This boxed in bottom piece with this opening here is how install is going to get power up and through. We'll go over that in a second. And it all has to get here to the power system section. Now, to touch on, we're coming in on wiring this thing up and all that. So let's touch upon the issues that you got to keep in mind with this. I know that, when we're doing signage, it's great because nobody's going to see inside. You have a box and you can do whatever you want on the inside. It looks great on the outside. That's all we care about. The things to be careful of is on this one, like Homie and his girlfriend are just chilling here. You can see into this thing. So the problem is that we are going to be doing RGB. So there's two things. You can kind of see in and see how the sausage is made. And if you can imagine, this is where those 1/4-inch plates are going to go. So if you kind of poke in and see, you have the chance to see reference kisses. So you want to make sure, similar to our living desert stuff we do, where you make sure that the reference kisses are on the inside. And that way, when you put the post in there, it hides it. Same thing. That's why I'm putting here. Make sure all the reference kisses faces inward. So that way you do not see them when people walk by. Same thing here. I granted these are only one-sided, but flip these so that they're up, but they face inward. They face inward and they face inward. That way when people walk by, this is essentially from like here down is all going to be visible. So we want to make sure that all these reference kisses, because you can see here's the 1-inch gap. So any of these reference kisses here will be visible if they look in. So we want to make sure we do that. So make sure everything's kind of facing inward and that everything. Also, it's going to be LED time. I kind of went back and forth on trying to make a track system, or I don't know. So the fact that this is, I'm not sure if this is going to stay, this curb system here. It's blowing out here. I don't know what's going on. But hopefully when, homegirl's just, and her boyfriend's just chilling, when they walk by, they won't be too close to it. But you can tell that they might have line of sight to some of like, I don't know, the LEDs or wiring. That's why once it comes time to assemble this thing, so once everything's done, everything gets sent to paint. I think the post is going to have to get painted as well. I think we'll want to make sure that all this gets painted reverse channel white, I think, because at night, we want this to blow all the RGB out as much as possible. So these verticals here will give like, reflective. All this right here painted white will help pop that RGB out. But what I was thinking is that you're going to have to tuck the RGBs as close as you can to the edge on the face to the welds. That way, it's like I said, you just got to keep this whole line of sight thing, in idea there. So now, when the 1/4-inch plate is kind of running through here, it's going to block your view across. So like right here, you would be able to see probably a LED, but first of all, it's 8 feet tall. So really you're only going to be looking about here, but the 1/4-inch plate arms will block the view through. So, from this side, you won't see LEDs over here, thankfully. But that being said, we want to make sure, I think the only chance that we have to hide these LEDs is to keep them as close as possible to return, stick them directly to the face, and have them fire across. And then we'll try to do a maximum wash so there's no hot spots, and just do another set on this side that fires across that way. That way we get a big old wash, try to get a whole bunch of RGB going, and then it will glow out the sides. And like I said, the internal post painted white hopefully will also help project light out. I know that it's not supposed to like actually glow out, but you want it to look like it's glowing cool. But there is a chance though, walking by, that you might catch diode lights. So we want to make sure. I thought about possibly doing some reverse track system, but then looking through, you're still going to see a reverse track. Actually, you probably have a higher chance of seeing reverse track versus a 2-inch deep return, and then trying to tuck that LED up against there. So that being said, whoever's doing the face, before it goes out to paint, maybe go ahead and hit a die grinder around here and make sure that this whole system is really clean from weld boogers. So that way, when you go to, after it's painted, you can set those LEDs as close as you dare up against the return. So that way you don't catch, some side eye like Homie is here. You can see in there. So that's one of the things. The other thing is, again, because you're not going to be able to see through this area to the armpits here, let's go ahead and make sure that these will be your collection points for your sticky LED return things. So you can either choose to go here with the left, do both sides and have them collect here, or you can do here and collect here. But I was thinking that we're going to use Keystone 12s. And then I went ahead and ordered these from Glance. You've got your controller. And then I think because it's 32 feet per side. And as always, we're right up against the limits of a power supply. So I figured if we do 2 Keystones, we can fit them in here somehow. I don't know the sizes of these things. So that being said, I don't have any provision for mounting this yet. So I figured what would happen is you guys can go ahead and build this up, get it taken care of, and then I'll sneak over, check it out. And then once these are in stock, because they didn't give any idea, they gave me an idea how big this thing is, and that's this. So you've got your terminals here. That's the yellow. So it fits in here okay. I don't know the size. They had no dimension for this repeater. But if we're going to do 2 power supplies, 1 per face, then we needed a repeater to fire up the second power supply to get the RGB for this. So all of this needs to tuck in there. You can see where I have the Keystones possibly can fit in there. Anyway, I have provisions here for possibly adding some sort of 090 system later once everything's built. So we'll see what's up, but that's where everything's got to go. So when you do your LEDs and you kind of run them around the edge, probably bunch them up a little bit because there's a chance of hot spots. We don't want that. And also making sure that they're tucked up so far, as close as possible to the return all the way around. And just that simple. Run it all the way down. I did make your mark for grade. So keep in mind that, where is it? There it is. So keep in mind LEDs will probably want to stop somewhere in here just to be safe. We're hoping for grade right here, 2-inch down into the dirt. Jim wanted to look like it's growing, obviously. So keep that in mind when you put the LEDs up. So, but that's kind of the heads up on the LEDs, making sure that they're not visible as much as possible anyway. And just keep that sort of ability to spy in. Just keep that in mind when you're doing everything. Also, when you're, like I say, when you're laying down your wires, but you want to make sure your wires kind of go here. Like I said, I have that scribe mark for the 1-inch pads. You can choose which one to use. And then we're going to run wire through here. So these guys here are 3/4 of an inch sandwich tall. So that leaves, between here and here, you have 3/4 of an inch to run wire between the 1/4-inch frame and the slidey puck system. So you can either run the wire into this slot. So you can see here's the slider puck and here's this. So that gives us about 3/4 of an inch. So you can bring that wire leash in because install is going to want to wire it up and then slide it down. Or, so again, plenty of leash. Or I have holes here if we want to, poke them through and then they can come through and make them. The whole idea though is that we want to make sure again that our leash doesn't do something like this where, it's visible and it's hanging out and people walking by can look in and see a leash. We want to make sure that everything stays tidy and it's kind of tucked up and out of the way. Again, we don't want to be able people walk by and see in there and see what's going on. That's also for install. So install, if you're watching this, you want to make sure that leash kind of system stays tucked in and away from how people can see it. So that might be where, doing this here, collecting our leash here, strain relief, and then having a big old long leash that can poke into that hole. And then you can kind of collect it up and then slide it on. And then hopefully nobody sees anything hanging here. So again, that's that whole thing of like, instead of a sign, this is more artwork. We got to watch out for all that silliness. But otherwise, you're good to go. You got 5/16 tap. Once you get this all, welded up and done, go ahead and tap through 5/16. Just a standard all thread hex nut's going to hold that on there just fine. So that's all done. And then, like I say, burn the bottom on real good. Now, here's your cut list. 3x3x8, I think will be fine. But I know that, Loma Linda, we do 3/16. If you have a piece of 3/16, let's do that. But otherwise, I think 8 will be okay. And then here's your measurement for just do a slot like we do a nice big roval. So that way they can slide in their sweep. For install, I already kind of shot this over to install. But for your 18 down, you can run thing over. We'll give you a slot, 36 by 24. There's really no YJ on this, but this is going to be fine. You're looking for 2-inch down. If you put the sono and everything 6 inches down, kind of like this with the 2-inch, you should be good to go. And then all your power supplies and stuff will be up here for install. So just so you know that, you're just going to have a leash and then slide it on and do your collection and hook it all up. So all that information's there for you, Fab. And then, yeah, 6-inch extendo bit should be enough to just frap that down. So, yeah, I did order in these two. I did not order in any more keystones, probably order in some more. And then I left the RGB modules up to Fab. Go ahead and order those up. I did not order RGB modules. I didn't know what we had in stock, and I didn't know if, what brand, if in principle or whatever. But obviously it's all going to be 12 volt. So just bring that in and we'll make it work. So, but whether it's beach row, whatever we can use. Again, you probably want to tighten up. We don't want to have too many hot spots, but I think with them facing each other and blasting back and forth, facing each other, I think we'll get a pretty cool glow. I think it'll look pretty cool at night. So that's the whole goal. So anyway, but I think that's it. Pucks, reverse channel, do your thing there. Weld all this up. Make sure everything is not visible. Weld it to the inside. All reference kisses to the inside so nobody can see. Burn it up strong. This is 1/2 inch through. Just through bolt it, squish it together. All good. Burn this up. Chop your hole. But otherwise, I think that's it. So if you have any questions, hit me up.
Check the